What is up, YouTube? So today we're just gonna do a little quick rundown of the new Hero 6 and just go over my setup so far, what I have, and how I got it to where I needed it to be, so that way I could start shooting some better footage. So let's get into it.
Wanna walk to the edge of the earth, scream your name till the fire's gone. My lungs, wanna drink till I don't feel the urge, so run back to you and lay it down. Make me yours. I can still feel your breath.
So starting with the concept of the camera, my end goal was to create a compact camera that I could take with me and it wouldn't be so bulky where I don't want to take it places. And in doing so, what I came across was the Hero 6. And this is a phenomenal camera with image stabilization that's at its peak for its size. Nothing comes close to it. There are a few other cameras on the market like Sony's and stuff that are pretty good, but as far as focusing, the autofocus, and consistently getting a frame into focus without having to deal with, depth of field and stuff like that, this camera came along and it's really superb. With the concept in mind of being able to switch between my car and a handheld camera, I purchased this aluminum frame here. So I purchased this aluminum frame, and basically what it is it's a housing that goes around your GoPro. And the cool thing about this is it has, this is not the thumb screw it came with. It came with a little bolt type screw, and what it did was it pushed pressure along the GoPro siding here, and it allowed you to tighten it up, keep your GoPro from falling out. They also sell a version like this that has a sliding door on the back side with the thumb screw. And the reason why I didn't purchase that one was because I didn't want to mar up my GoPro screen here. Even though it has a screen protector, I didn't want it to start peeling the screen protector back. And not only that, I didn't want it to pick up the vibrations from the aluminum housing on the aluminum sliding door through my microphone. So what I ended up deciding to do, and it's okay if you did purchase that one, you just don't have to put the sliding door in and then just run this thumb screw. But another reason to purchase this style is it saves you money, and the hack that I'm gonna go over right here, you won't need that aluminum piece anymore. So the reason for this aluminum housing over the plastic one that it came with is because I want to mount this in my vehicle and also be able to take it on the go. This aluminum housing will allow me to basically walk around with this camera and utilize it with this microphone, and then also connect it into my vehicle while I'm driving, or just to set it up there so that way it's out of the way as well. The plastic one I'm going to utilize for water footage. So if I dive or if I wanted to take some underwater footage, I'll just take this out, take this GoPro out, and then slide it into that housing, and then all my place, so it keeps it all compact. Okay, so after mounting all this hardware on, I needed a way to mount this mic adapter in order to run this mic. As you all know, the newer GoPros require this big old bulky mic adapter. If you look at my other videos, I mounted this to a gimbal and I extended this wire to make that work. With the new GoPro Hero 6, you don't need gimbals, and the imaging stabilization is really good on this. So with all this audio setup, on the newer GoPros, they require a mic adapter. If you look at my previous video on the mic adapter for the Session and the Hero 5, that was before this, I had the Session and I hooked it up to a gimbal only because the image stabilization wasn't nearly as good as this camera by itself. So I had to extend this wire here in order to make that work, because this could not connect to the gimbal. It would just rotate it by the weight of this mic adapter, and it wasn't made for a gimbal. So if you want to see that video, check out my other video on it. And if you do have a Session 5, Session 4, Hero 5, look at that video and it'll show you how to set up the gimbal setup. but I kept the mic adapter. Well, I bought another one for it, and I needed a way to mount it. So what I ended up doing, the cool thing about this aluminum housing is it comes with 4 holes at the bottom. I drilled and tapped them out to 1/4 20. Some of the housings already come pre-drilled and tapped. This one did not, so be aware of that. If you don't have the tools to drill and tap, make sure you get the housing with the drilled and tapped bottom holes. And what I did was I took some 120 wall plate, some butt and head cap screws, and I believe they're 1/2 inch long, and put this plate on here and slot it this area so that way I could run zip ties. You could use a Dremel, you could drill holes straight into it. It's up to you. All you need is a flat plate. It could be plastic, it could be aluminum, it could be steel, whatever you have on hand. And drill 4 holes. Once you drill 4 holes, run 2 zip ties around it, and that pretty much locks this into place. Also, this little shelf is cool if you had a little external battery pack, so that way you could jumper it here and then plug it right into there, and that'll give you extra battery for time lapses. So putting a piece of Velcro on this so that way you can set it on temporarily just for time lapses only, because I don't think you want to walk around with this additional battery pack. Or if you have it in your backpack on stow, you could put it there, charge this up while it's in your backpack. Another thing to remember is look for the aluminum housing that has this large cutout down here without this bottom piece. And the reason for that is when you have the door on, you could actually slide it off and pop it out. They do make another style that this aluminum piece comes all the way across here and it locks your door down. So if you want to be able to pop in your door, pop it off, definitely look for the one without the bottom. And another mod that I ended up doing was I didn't buy the GoPro mount. It came with one, but this one actually swivels. I didn't buy the GoPro one because it was 20 bucks. This one was like 5 or 10 bucks on Amazon, and it has a lot of good reviews, and it's been really strong. Even with this heavy setup, you know, I shake it around and it doesn't turn on you. And basically what it does is those little latches right there kind of drop into those grooves as it turns around, creating friction and locks this into place. But the cool thing about this is if you have it on your dash and you want to rotate it, all you do is twist it around to the angle you want it at. And since everything's connected to the housing, you don't have to worry about no cables or anything getting hung up or twisted around. And then also if you have this on, say, a selfie stick, you could also turn it like that and put it in the water if you didn't have your mic stuff hooked up. So I definitely have this one on the housing that the GoPro came with, so that way if I do decide to submerge it in water, I still have the ability to rotate it 360 degrees. And it's actually infinite because it just keeps rotating all the way around. So one thing to know about this housing, this aluminum housing, is the screw that it came with. It's good and all, but the issue I have with that is I put a screen protector on here and on the front. I don't really need it on the front anymore unless I run it on the other housing, but it came as a 2-pack, so I added it to front and back. And this is a glass screen protector, but when I would twist the little screw in until it made contact with this frame on the GoPro, I noticed it start peeling right in here. So right where it says GoPro, I noticed my screen start lifting up. And if I didn't have the screen protector on, I would never notice that. So be aware of that. And that's why I came across this little quick disconnect. So this was like $10 on its own. It's a spring-loaded plunger, as you can see. And I took this 1/8 inch or 16th inch paracord, wove it, so that way I have a little tab. It came with a key ring, but I took that off because I didn't want it to make noise, like a tapping noise on this aluminum housing. But also, when transitioning from this aluminum housing to the one that it came with, all you got to do is pull back on here. I'll unplug it. This is another form of security. When you plug it in, it keeps it from popping out your GoPro, because it would hit on this aluminum housing before it actually is able to come all the way out. Just pull back, and then you could shake it out. It's a real tight fit. Well, not tight, but snug. As you can see, they have a cutout up here for the GoPro button, for the on button, but it slides right out. So you can see that notch up here, and that's a real precise fit. So you don't have to worry about your GoPro flying out, because it fits in there pretty snug. But this little plunger here, as you can see, it sticks out. So you take out the insert that's in there on the original setup, and then you just thread this in. I put a little drop of Loctite, some 240 or 243, 242 or 243 Loctite, the blue stuff. Put a little drop on there so that way this doesn't come out, which it shouldn't, but just to be on the safe side, I put a O-ring on it just to take up that little gap that it had. There's a little gap without threads, and I made sure it went flush. So as you can see, the threads go flush with the actual aluminum frame, so that way when sliding in the GoPro it doesn't hang it up. So that's also why I put an O-ring there. But here's your plunger. So it's not a lot of force, the plunger, but it's enough to grip the GoPro. Also, with the stock setup, that little thumb screw, if you look here, it made a little indentation from me screwing it in and it gripping on the rubber siding here. It kind of like rotated into it and would dig into the rubber itself. The bad thing with that is, since it's rubber, it flexes. So when you twist in the thumb screw, it would kind of grip this rubber, twist it, and then back itself out, because it's like a elastic material. So it backed out the screw, and then that would leave you with a loose GoPro, and it would make that sound when it would back out. But with this, you just pulled the little thing, as you can see, it dropped in, and it's not going to fall out. And then you just plug in the plug to it for your mic adapter, and it's really secure after that. So that's a little quick update on my new setup. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it if you want to see other videos like this and other things I got on my YouTube channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, thanks for watching. Okay, so what I have is the aluminum frame, and I have an issue with the aluminum frame. Basically, this is a quarter 20 thread, and as you insert your camera into it, you put the bolt in there, and basically pushes on the side of your camera. As you can see, there's like a marring going on right here, marring effect on the rubber. So as you insert this, it comes with a 1/4 bolt that goes in there, that's stainless steel. And the 1/4 bolt that I had looks something like this, but as you can see, this one has this 1/4 is a hex with the nut on it and this rubber tip. I made this myself, and the reason for that was the one it came with had threading at the tip, and then it was all shank right in here, and then it had the end with one of these rings on the end of it. So I didn't like the ring because it would make noise on the aluminum itself, but that could have been taken off really easily. But I still would have a gap where this nut would be, because it would be all shank, and I wasn't able to thread a nut onto that shank because it just didn't contain any thread. So what I did was I took a standard 1/4 bolt here. See if I can focus that a little bit better. So I took this 1/4 bolt, it's all threaded, and put a nut on it. No elastic lock nut or anything, just a regular nut. Screwed it on and really cammed it over so that way it would act as a locking nut type of deal. And then I drilled a hole straight through the center, so the biggest hole I could get in here. It doesn't matter the size, just don't go too big because you'll start cutting into the thread and you won't have a hole anymore. So once I drilled that hole, I put hot glue in there. So get some hot glue really hot, stick it in there, melt it, and then bring it out, and then it'll form like a little dome. And the reason for this is it acts as a cushion. After it hardens, it'll still take up some or absorb some of the force that this nut or this bolt's gonna put on your camera. And then it also adds extra grip. So when you screw this in, just picture this as the rubber right in there. So as you screw this in, it pushes, and then it acts as a little cushion there. So when you shake your camera, you don't have to worry about it slipping because it also acts as grip. And you don't really have to worry about it backing out either, because it does add a springing sensation to your camera. So as you can see, it's real spongy right there because I just hit the hot glue. So then I give it a little bit more turn, and then it's locked in. So if you were to shake this, it won't fall out. So that's a good design and all. The only thing I don't like about this is if you do tighten it too tight. So for instance, if I tighten this a little bit too tight, look right here in the screen and you'll start seeing my screen protector lift. You see it right there? You see it lifting because it's starting to bow this frame on the camera, and that's not good. So you back it off a little bit and it goes away, but as you can see, it's loose. So you finger tighten it till it's firm, a little bit loose, and then you give it an 1/8 inch turn, and then it locks it in. But as you can see, the threads aren't perfect because it's not a precise tap. It's just whatever they tap it to. 1/4. They're running thousands of these probably, so they just bore it real quick. So you'll have some play. But that's why I put the hot glue there to kind of keep it from backing out. Whereas the full stainless one that it came with, it was so loose, even when you tightened it, it would still do this. And if you tightened it too much, as you can see, it start lifting my screen protector. So I kind of came up with a new solution. Get rid of this, and then I ordered this on Amazon. So basically what this is a 1/4 thread here, and see how this has no thread here? That's a shank that I was talking about on the other bolt I had. So you have this 1/4 and then you have this pin here that's spring loaded. So you tighten this all the way flush with your frame here. So you tighten it all the way till it reaches flush here, and then you see this plunger. You have the friction of that spring plunger in the center to hold this tight. So let's do that. So as you can see, if I shook it, you could hear it gonna fall out. And if you push on here, the only thing that's kind of holding it is that little notch right there for the button. As you can see, I can pull it out still. So what we want to do is take this little plunger deal here, screw this in till we know it's flush. So take out your camera and make sure, but for video purposes I'm just going to show you here. So as you can see, screwed it in to about right there, and then you have this spring loaded plunger here. So I'm going to take this off so it doesn't make any rattling noises, but for this video it doesn't fall out. But when I want to take it out, I just pull out on this plunger, and now you can wiggle it out. So that's my my solution to this design. I wish they had like a little flap or spring that would hold it in, but they don't. So here's what I was talking about. So you screw it in until you see those threads right there, back it out, and then now you got a spring loaded plunger. $11 on Amazon, if it's worth it to you, so that way you don't crush the side of your GoPro and start lifting up your screen protector. Then go ahead and pick one up. If it's not, no big deal. You could get away with the bolt it came with, or make one like this. And then another thing I'm going to do is put some Loctite to hold this in, so that way it doesn't untwist, and add some paracord to the end of this, so that way it doesn't make this noise, but at least I'll have a loop to pull on.